dear, oh me. Now, before we start getting into this Grand Prix qualifying, this is Spanish Grand Prix 2022. It's not really a review, just me pointing at a few things that stood out for me. If you want to know the results, either go on f1.com or you can look on the top of the screen where you get the official results of the qualifying. Before we start getting into it, Charles got pole. There you go. Now, all of a sudden, Carlos Sainz's fan base has multiplied. Since the past 4 weeks, his fan base has multiplied. It's gone up. Now, before Carlos, in the past, like when the season started and before the season started, last season, the season before, when Carlos Sainz used to come out to the Grand Prix, if he got onto the podium, whatever, I think he's only got on the podium a couple of times, but when he used to come out and give interviews, most of the time you heard crickets. No disrespect to Carlos Sainz, but that's what you heard, crickets. Basically, you never heard no reaction. You heard nothing on social media. Nobody cared about Carlos Sainz, which for me, it was a shame. Because Carlos Sainz is an amazing driver. He's fast. He has been a bit careless from the past couple of races. But Carlos Sainz is a good driver. He could be a world champion in the future. Definitely. He's at the right team. He's at the best team, Ferrari. So he could do it. But I found there's a lot of Red Bull fans on social media that want Carlos Sainz to do better in the Grand Prix. Now I was thinking to myself, you're a Red Bull fan. Why do you want Carlos Sainz to do good? And then the penny dropped. He never took long for the penny to drop, but the penny did drop. I thought, the reason why they want Carlos Sainz to get up there is to take points off Charles Leclerc, because they know Charles Leclerc is the man. They know that Carlos Sainz realistically is the only person that can take points off him apart from Max Verstappen. So the more they root for Carlos Sainz and hope and pray that he takes points off Charles Leclerc, the more their man, geek Max Verstappen, can try and move closer towards the top. That's all it is. They don't care about Carlos Sainz. They just care about Carlos Sainz taking points off Charles Leclerc. Very simple. And if you do not agree with me, take a walk. Very simple. Now, let's drink this drink. Hold on. Now, we have the Spanish Grand Prix. Where we're going to start? We're going to start with Mercedes. Mercedes, they have made a big improvement since Miami. Finally, they have made a big improvement since Miami. No porpoising anymore. And the reason why there's no porpoising anymore is because the philosophy that they went with this floor, it has worked. Finally, we're going to see some Mercedes on the podium. Potentially. Maybe. We'll see how it goes. Because I'm not going to run out and say, look, Mercedes are going to win this and win that. Look, qualifying, they looked amazing. Practice 1, 2, and 3, they looked amazing. The porpoising has gone. Good. That's the first stage of recovery. The porpoising is gone. Toto Wolff come out today. He was talking to Sky Sports. He ain't really talked to that team in ages, the Sky Sports team, but he was talking to Ted. Well, he usually talks to Ted, but he was talking to Sky Sports today, and he was smiling, and he was saying, finally, the porpoise is gone, and now we can start working on more straight line speed. Yesterday in practice, they were the fastest team on the straight. They were faster than Ferrari and Red Bull. So that shows you they are making improvements. But Toto Wolff said there's a long way to go. We know how Mercedes go. They play it down. Toto Wolff said there's a long way to go, but the improvement is coming thick and fast. They had Anthony in the simulator all night. Their simulator driver. Didn't sleep all night. He was there in the simulator. And he done a good job feeding the data back to the team. Hats off to Anthony. See, people don't give him enough credit. They say, oh yeah, he just drives the sim. But he is the one that drives the sim and gives the feedback back to the engineers, and the engineers gives the feedback back to Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. So he's a very, very important part of the Mercedes team, and hats off to Anthony. Very simple. Now, look, I'm not going to talk about Aston Martin copying Red Bull. I don't care. If Aston Martin copied Red Bull with the design, I don't care. If they didn't copy Red Bull with the design, I still don't care. Not going to talk about it. Let's move on. Now, my favourite before the qualifying was Charles Leclerc. Very simple. He's been my man for the most of the season. He's my pick at this point to win the championship. Now, if Mercedes suddenly come back and either Russell or Lewis Hamilton wins the world title, that would be the biggest comeback in Formula One history. I'm not saying that they're not out. I'm not saying they're out of it, but it's going to be tough especially for Lewis Hamilton to come back and do it. But if anybody can do it, it's Lewis Hamilton. But again today, practice 1, George Russell faster than Lewis. Practice 2, George Russell faster than Lewis. Practice 3, George Russell faster than Lewis. And hats off to George Russell. You have to take your hat off to George Russell, because if you don't take your hat off to George Russell, you are not a Formula One fan. You have to give props where it is due. All right, Lewis Hamilton is not. He's not comfortable with the car. He's not. He's not comfortable with the car. We know this. But George Russell is eking out every little time he can out of that car, and it's paying off. Very simple. Now, will Lewis Hamilton get to grips with the car? Of course he will. But it's when. At the end of the day, we know that George Russell has been lucky with the safety cars. We know this. It's been about 3 or 4 times he's got ahead through the safety car. We know this. And realistically, Lewis Hamilton should be in front of George Russell, but it hasn't worked out that way. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. In Formula One, you are lucky sometimes. Just like Max Verstappen was lucky last season. And I don't care what anybody says, he ain't no world champion. He needs to stop embarrassing himself and take that number 1 off his car. But back to George Russell. George Russell has came in, right, as a rookie. All right, he's been in Formula One a couple of years, but he's a rookie into the team. He come in and he's we're not out qualifying. I think they're neck and neck now with Lewis Hamilton and George Russell with qualifying. But in practice, he's faster, and he's showing that, which I always knew from 6 years ago, that George Russell is a phenomenal driver, a defo future world champion. There's no way that Mercedes are going to invest any of their time and money into a driver who is just a standard driver. They knew this guy was number 1 from day 1, and they waited and waited and waited until it was the right time, and they brought him in, and now he is the future of the Mercedes team. Do I still think Lewis is going to win a world title? You fucking damn right. Do I think he's going to win a title this year? I'm not sure. I'm not going to put my hat on there. I'm not going to put my hat down and say, you know what, that Lewis Hamilton's going to win it. I'm not going to say that. But it could be a 6-way battle to win the title. It could be Max Verstappen. It could be Perez. It could be the 2 Ferrari guys, Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, and Russell and Lewis Hamilton. There's 6 guys in this championship fight, but for me, the favourite out of them 6 is Charles Leclerc. I know Charles Leclerc makes mistakes. He makes little nibbling mistakes, just like the mistakes he made in Imola. We know this. Where he went over the little chicane when he shouldn't have in the wet, chasing Max Verstappen, which he shouldn't have. He shouldn't even fucking pitted, but he did. But Charles Leclerc, that qualifying lap that he pulled out today, that was amazing. But people are going to turn around, especially the Red Bull geeks. We've heard this. Max, super Max. The same old tune every week, every fortnight, every race, every day on Twitter. And they're going to say it again now. They are saying it now. The reason why Charles got pole is because Max Verstappen's car broke down. No, you stupid geek. Even Christian Horner, your boss, he said it doesn't matter if Max Verstappen's car wouldn't have broke down. We wouldn't have got no closer to that time. That's what Red Bull are looking. They're looking more at the race setup. Qualifying, it was always going to be Ferrari. And it was always going to be Charles Leclerc. So get used to it. Very simple. A lot of people were saying Carlos Sainz, yeah, Red Bull fans were. Like I told you at the beginning, my theory, the reason why they want Carlos Sainz to win more, to take points off Charles, so Max could slide through. Listen, you're not smarter than me. You never have and never will be. Trust me, I know. But, yeah, I'm going to go through it quick. Russell was showing promise. Nothing really. Russell out-qualifying Lewis Hamilton. Magnussen was showing true speed as well. Magnussen, absolutely amazing. Look at Magnussen, man. Look at Magnussen. This guy, 6 months ago, was in America. He didn't even think that he's going to be in Formula One. And look at him. He's getting that car into Q3. Two Haas into Q3. When has that ever happened? 2 Haas cars into Q3. And they done it today. Because Gunther Steiner was putting the pressure on Schumacher to perform. And sometimes in life, you have to put the pressure down on your driver to let him show his true potential. Because let's face it, Mick Schumacher was not showing potential this season. Not really. Magnussen coming and just very quick, very simple. Schumacher still lagging behind. But I heard there was rumours going around that Gunther Steiner was putting the pressure down on Mick Schumacher. And this is the result we get. We get 2 Haas in to Q3. Absolutely amazing. Lewis still not comfortable with his car. As I told you at the beginning of the video, Lewis is just not comfortable with the car. He will get comfortable with the car, but it is when. Q2, Lewis Hamilton. He went out first at the Mercedes. He was showing promise in his time. Sector 1 and Sector 2 was absolutely amazing. Spot on. Spot on. And all of a sudden, in the last sector, he slipped. And that was it. He didn't go into the gravel, but he went a bit wide, and that cost him a lot of time. A lot of time. And George Russell came out, done an excellent lap. Absolutely excellent. And he out-qualified Lewis Hamilton again, and that was in Q2. So, you could see if Lewis Hamilton could just iron out a few little mistakes, get used to this car, take this car by the reins and pull it and control it. You could see if Lewis Hamilton ironed out the mistakes that he will be there probably above George Russell, because George Russell and that car is in zinc. He loves that car. He had the biggest smile I've ever saw on a Formula 1 driver. That was yesterday when he knew the car was there, and now the car's there and he's in zinc. That's the perfect thing for a driver. In any category of motorsport, when you got a driver and the car in zinc. So we're going into Q3. So basically, I'm going to go to Q1. The fastest in Q at the top was Leclerc, Sainz, Verstappen, and at the bottom at the Q1 was Vettel, Alonso, Stroll, Albon, and Latifi. So basically, Vettel was going out. He couldn't believe that was Q1 now, by the way. He couldn't believe he went out. And Alonso was gutted. Imagine Alonso's Spanish Grand Prix. He's in his home country and he goes out in Q1. Not very happy, man. I don't know what's happened to the Alpine this weekend. There was talking about there was problems with the setup. I don't know what's going on. I'm not an expert. I'm just giving you my opinion, what I saw floating around the internet and floating around on the F1 websites, that there was a problem with his car, with both of the cars, with the setup, and I just couldn't get the hang of it before the end of Q1. And that's why Alonso was done in Q1. Now Q2, like I said, Mercedes, Hamilton went up first. And yeah, Russell out-qualifying Hamilton in Q2. And at the end of Q2, the top of Q2, the top of the timesheets were, so basically you have Max Verstappen, Sainz and Russell, because Russell pulled out an amazing middle sector. And when he and because of that amazing middle sector, he was third on the timesheet. So you had the top for Verstappen, Sainz, Russell, and Norris was trying to go for a lap, but he got his lap deleted because he went wide. He was gutted that he went wide, pissed off about the regulations, about how precise. But that's just the way it is. It's rules. It's just like rules, just like it happened to Lewis Hamilton, it's happened to other drivers. It's the rules. Get used to it. Lap was deleted and he was gone because he didn't have enough time to do another lap. Ocon was gone. Tsunoda was gone. Gasly was gone. And Guan Yu Zhou was gone. And that was the end of Q2. Gasly, that was, for me, the biggest shock of them all going out was Norris and Gasly in Q2. Because Gasly has shown consistency since the beginning of the season. Beginning of the season. The past couple of years, he showed consistency that he always gets into Q3. But this is the first time in a long time that Gasly has not made it into Q3. So that was Gasly, God, and Norris. Q3 started. Hamilton, again, coming out first. Nailing the sectors. And this time, we didn't slip in the end at the last sector. It was more of a safety corner. Usually, you see Hamilton slide into the corners, get out. But this time, he was more conservative, just playing it safe. And that was him coming out there. So, yeah, and that was Hamilton doing his lap. Max Verstappen, he came out and he was doing his flying lap. And all of a sudden, he said, there's an engine problem now. I was thinking to myself, I hope this guy's car breaks down. I hope he has to take a new engine penalty. That would do me. Another engine penalty? Sweet. That means you get a penalty and you start from the back. But no, they were saying it was DRS problems, that he couldn't open his DRS problems. That's what Red Bull are saying. In my opinion, I think it's something else. But they're saying it's DRS. Hopefully tomorrow morning we wake up and it comes out in the news that Max Verstappen's car broke down and he needs a new power unit and he has to take a penalty. Music to my ears. Now, Charles smashed it. He come out first. When Charles came out for his first stint, he slipped, he went wide. Didn't bother him. He went into the pits, changed his tyres, waited for a couple of more minutes just before people was coming out for the last stint. He came out calm, collective, like a true future world champion. A couple of years ago, he probably would have panicked if it went wide. He probably would have came out on the radio when he started saying to his engineer, what's going on, can I do it? Breathing heavy over the radio. But no, this time he slipped. He goes, okay then, I slipped, watch this then. Went back round again, went into the pits, put his fresh soft tyres on, waited for the last minute and a half, came out and he said, watch this. Came out and done the fastest lap and got pole. Charlie Boy got pole, my favourite to get pole from the beginning. And Charles Leclerc is pole for tomorrow. Max Verstappen had to pull out of his lap, but because of his first stint, and it was fast, it was good enough to get through, and now Max Verstappen is P2. So, on the top, this is, as you can see on the top, you got Charles Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, Russell, Perez, Hamilton, Bottas, Magnussen, Ricciardo, and the rest is at the front. That was the top 5 for the Grand Prix. Charles, Verstappen, Sainz, Russell, and Perez. There you go. Hamilton was in 6th place. So, Perez, he was complaining. He was talking about on the news after he said that his car never felt right, and he apologised to Christian Horner. But you know what Perez is like. You know he's good in qualifying, but you know he's better in the race. He's the master tactician. He's the reason why Max gets these wins, because he helps him out. He's the perfect wingman. From my opinion, he shouldn't be a wingman. He should be the main driver. They're just giving all Max Verstappen the resources, but he's the wingman. He's playing his role. They're paying him to do it, and that's it. even if Perez comes out and say, I want to win the title this year, this is my title, I want equal cars, he knows deep down behind the scenes he has to play behind Max Verstappen. This is why that's why they're paying Perez the big bucks to be the second driver. Very simple. And that's just the way it is. Well, that's the end, man. That's the end. Race day review tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow we get a good race. I think it's going to be an amazing start tomorrow. I think Hamilton can jump Russell tomorrow, maybe, or Russell can just stay ahead. It doesn't matter to me. I just want both of them to come through the first corner and be unscathed. But I just got a feeling, I think that Lewis, to me, is the better race driver. I know qualifying hasn't been his forte this year, obviously because of the car and everything, and all the situation with the car and the porpoising. Now the porpoising is finished. But what it boils down to, Lewis Hamilton has always been a better race driver in this past season. And the reason why the Russell keeps beating him in the race is because obviously Russell's been lucky by the safety car. But Lewis Hamilton, to me, it's standard. He is the better race driver when it comes to qualifying and race day. These days, he prefers race trim. And I think tomorrow, watch out for Lewis and watch out for Russell. There might be a Mercedes on the podium tomorrow. Put it that way. I am now on iTunes and Spotify. If you want to catch me on iTunes and Spotify, type in when you get to Spotify and iTunes, Solo P1 F1 reviews. You type that in. It's at the bottom of the screen there in brackets. You type that in and then you'll find me and hit the follow, and you can listen to me on your audio in your car or chilling on your bed or going out to the gym. You can listen to me Solo P1 F1 reviews on Spotify and iTunes. So this is Solo P1 signing out. See you guys tomorrow for the race day. Let's go Mercedes and Charles. Bye.